Do you need to go to university to pursue your passion? This is a question that I think a lot of us maybe don't ask enough or don't ask in depth enough. Obviously, there are going to be careers in life where you need a university education. But if you're wanting to go into design or fine arts or marketing, something a little bit more fluid, a little bit more open-ended, is a university degree right for you? If you are wanting to pursue a creative career, this conversation is absolutely not to be missed. But if you're wanting to pursue something else and you're just not sure if university is right for you, this conversation will have some really helpful principles for you as well. Today, I am joined by the wonderful, incredibly talented Darcie Denton. Hey Darcie.
Hello.
And she is here today to share some of her experiences, some of her highs and lows, to help you navigate or answer the question of whether you should go to university, specifically to pursue a career in the arts or in art. She's from Tennessee, I'm from Sydney. She has an art degree, I don't. And yet we've both sort of ended up in similar pathways, similar trajectories in life. I am a designer by profession. She is a fine artist. So we have a lot in common. We have great chats, and today is no exception. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. I hope you find this conversation valuable. Darcie, let me start by asking you, did you always want to be an artist?
Yeah, literally always. Like, I think it's always interesting to hear how people got into becoming an artist, because I've learned that it's all so different. For me, there was like literally never a question that I was an artist. So I feel like that's kind of a unique experience, because I see a lot of people around me questioning, like, am I an artist? Do I qualify as an artist? But that wasn't really something I ever struggled with. And maybe I have a lot of that to thank my parents for, being like super supportive of me and stuff. But I've always just loved to draw, from like blank sheets of computer paper that I scavenged from the printer to now that I just like do it all the time.
Yeah, I so see that about you. I feel like you just have this embodied sense of like, an understanding of what it means to be an artist. Yeah, I really wanted to sit down with you because art school has always been that big question in my mind. It's like, would my career today be different if I had gone to art school, if I had like done the professional art thing?
This is going to be a good conversation.
I think so. I would love to just get a rundown what your art school experience was like.
So I went to a Christian school. So my art school experience was definitely very unique compared to, I think, people's typical idea of like art school. On more of the technical side, like what was taught and stuff, the fine art program was definitely really focused on like painting and drawing and kind of like skills associated with those things. I would love if the program was able to be expanded, but I think that's also a strength that they have. So I was very appreciative of that, and that's like what I mostly do. Like, got lots of paintings behind me here. That's pretty much my art practice. And in general, I really, really like the community that you find in art school, the connections that you make. I mean, again, my school, it was smaller, it was on the smaller side, so it's not like there was a ton of people to meet, but the people I did meet were really quality people. I still live in the area, and like I'm teaching at the school now as a TA. There were like 3 core professors to the fine art program, and those professors are like now my colleagues. They come to my art shows, I go to their art shows. Like,
wow.
So being able to be a part of that community, even outside of art school, I think was really cool.
I found it so interesting how, like, just kind of this concept that not all art educations are the same, and your experience in comparison to like other people you've met in the art world that didn't go to your school.
The unique part that may not be as good about coming from a Christian school, I think you don't get as well-rounded of an art school experience. I mean, obviously, I think every art school is going to have like an ideology or something that they're coming from. Obviously, this is a Christian ideology that the school I went to is coming from. So there were certain things that were more limited, like certain things about the postmodern art world that maybe I would have learned more or seen more art from it at a different art school. So yeah, limited in some ways, but overall I had a really good experience in art school.
Yeah. When it comes to like where you learn things and how you learn things, Darcie, like, did you learn more from art school itself, or have you learned more about like the art world since breaking free, having your own exhibitions, being in that actual world?
So I think, I'm not sure which one I learned quote unquote more in. I obviously spent 4 years in university, and I'm only 2 years out of university now. So
yeah.
But I did, because we knew the questions before the actual video, I did think of like some things and kind of make a list of what I learned in university versus what I learned after. So
love it.
Obviously, in university, you're going to learn about art history. So I learned about a lot of the, you know, the historical, like, educational things that go along with art, like the things you have to learn in school normally. I mean, I could listen to a podcast and like learn art history, but you know, the way it's taught in school is very structured and you have to learn it. So like, which is good because you're forced to be there and these things are good for you to know. So I learned kind of about how philosophy and art work together. So I learned, and this goes along with history, but with each art movement, with each period of art, I learned about the philosophies that went behind those and kind of what else was happening at the world at that point. In one word, I learned the context of where the art world is now. And I think that's super helpful. It also helped me to be able to like cultivate an art practice and realize, just think about an art practice in a different way from, oh, this is a hobby I enjoy doing, to this is something that is very serious and it's something that I'm able and I should take time to do in my everyday life. I had to learn how to create an art show. I went through the process of making work for a show, like planning the art first of all, making the art, and then curating the show, and then opening the show. So that whole experience was really helpful. I came into college as a little freshman, making like very obvious art. There's a certain type of art where you kind of tell the viewer what to think. So like maybe you're talking about insecurities, and so you draw a girl that has a lot of insecurities or like names people call her written all over her body. Again, no hate whatsoever, but that is art that's more like easy to kind of approach. And I learned how to think about art more deeply, to lead people through a painting. Like maybe they look at the painting and maybe a lot of them are like, I don't understand this, I don't like this, so they move on. But the people that do stay and try to figure out what that painting means, they get a lot more out of it. So I learned why that was important, because coming into college I was like, why do I need to not make work that's on the nose? I want to make work that's on the nose. I want people to know what I'm saying. But I learned the beauty of thinking more complexly about art. Going like to post to graduating, I guess that's where more of the learning how to enact what I learned took place. And even what I didn't learn, like you don't really necessarily learn how to network or like socialize in university. I mean, to a certain extent, sure. But that really came afterwards, like going to business events and art openings and asking artists to meet me for coffee and all of that stuff. I really, really have grown in those skills after graduating from university. So
yeah. Wow. Man, there's so much. I was like fully like making notes. I'm like, there's so much I want to say right now. Like so many like directions this could go in. But can you just like recap a little bit about like, I mean, you don't have to share exact finances or anything like that, but sort of was it worth the price? Or like, do you think in general an art education is actually worth the price?
So I think I really did gain so much knowledge from my art school experience, and I mean, to a certain extent you can't put a price on knowledge, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
But obviously it gets to a point where, you know, is it worth it? Like, are you going to be in debt for years and years afterwards, and are you going to be able to pay off that debt? So my experience was really unique because I actually got quite a big subsidy for going to the school I did, because my mom is a teacher that works in that school's like general conference. So I got quite a big discount, and I was able to graduate without having student loans, which is very lucky. Not many people can say that, especially in the States. And I'm very well aware of that. So that was a unique and positive part of my experience. But the cost of my university, I mean, it's very expensive. And so if you were to go to art to get your BFA and you had to pay that much and you graduate after 4 years with that much debt, I mean, if you have tons of money, if your parents have tons of money, whatever, and you're able to do that, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to like you got to pay off bills after you graduate or whatever, make a living. It might not be the most logical thing that makes sense to do. But the other side of this is that a BFA is not intended really to stand by itself. Generally, BFAs are intended to go on to get their MFAs, so their masters in arts, masters of fine art. I think that actually was something that wasn't super emphasized to me when I was in the program. I was going through my 4 years and just not really realizing that I kind of should, quote unquote, go to get my MFA afterwards. That's kind of what the program's for. That's something that could be more emphasized to like young freshmen coming into the program, thinking I'm going to be an artist, and then maybe they'll graduate in 4 years and have a BFA and be like, wait, okay, now I have a lot of loans. What do I do with this? So
just on what you were saying about kind of not understanding that, I mean, regardless of whether it's your course or just like in general in the art world, that like a BFA leads to an MFA and like that whole pathway. I think it's really interesting. Like, so I studied a law degree because I was too chicken, basically, to like follow my passion in art. But even like, yeah, whether you know what you want to do and you follow a pathway that you're like, yeah, I'm passionate about this, or whether you follow something that you're not really sure about, there's still like so many questions regardless. Like, I had no idea what like the day-to-day life of a lawyer looks like. And when I found that out, like maybe 3 or 4 years into my degree, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me, you know? And then, you know, you finish your degree and you're like, heck, okay, now I need to do an MFA as well. Like, and there's still so many questions. And I think, yeah, anyone who's like watching who thinks that university is going to be like this really clear-cut pathway, and maybe some of them are, maybe like, you know, medicine is a lot more clear-cut than like, yeah, obviously art or law or whatever. But I think it's just so important to like have conversations with people who are already in the space, ask them about like, what does a day in your life look like? Or, you know, just some of those like...
Absolutely. Because, okay, so we have, you know, in the world of today, we're big into like following your dreams and like, don't listen to people that are like naysayers, like go for it. If you want to do it, go for it. And I, on one hand, am all for that, especially as an artist. Like, I feel like I have to be all for that because there's so many people that say, you should go and get an art degree. That's stupid. Like, why would you're going to be starving on the streets? There's so many people that have that negative voice.
Yeah.
And so my immediate reaction is to want to say, no, like, do it. Go pursue your dreams. Everything can be a career. You can be successful in everything. But there is some wisdom to listen to there from, like, I don't know, your grandpa who's saying like, oh, you're not going to be able to make a living out of that. There's, you know, the wisdom that you need to take away from that is that you need to go into it with both eyes open.
Yeah, and like even on that topic, and here grandpa says this, if you are simply doing what you're doing to live up to their expectations and you get halfway through your degree or through, you know, your job or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, I don't actually enjoy this, I think the temptation is just to stick with it in order to finish it, or to stick with it to like impress or prove yourself. But like that's just a sunken cost fallacy. It's like this idea that, oh, because you're already, you know, 4 years into that relationship or 10 years into that career, you should just keep going because you're already successful. It's like, no, like be willing to say, hey, I've changed my mind and that's okay. And like, this is why, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And truly nothing I mean, we might dig into this later, but truly nothing goes to waste.
Yes. I don't know, a question that's been in my mind this whole time you've been talking is like, so for me, not having had that art education, I have huge, like, imposter syndrome when it comes to like, you know, putting out my art into the world, because I look at the professionally trained artists, I look at like, you know, and for example, like you do exhibitions, and I'm like, wow, that's so amazing. I could never do that. And I just wonder, like, having had that experience, you must never have imposter syndrome. Or do you have imposter syndrome?
I think the thing is, the freeing thing to realize is that everybody, like, maybe there's an outlier or two, but pretty much everybody has imposter syndrome or has had imposter syndrome. I cannot stress to you how much I deal with imposter syndrome, from not constantly, but definitely from time to time. It was worse like once I graduated from college, like the year after graduating. I remember going to this gallery in town. It was like there's really cool people there, and like they have artists coming in every month and like making art together, and then doing big, like not big, but doing really cool like presentations about their art. And I remember going to those events, watching their presentations, and feeling like anxiousness in the pit of my stomach the whole time I was there growing because I felt like I didn't belong. And it's such a horrible experience to be an artist, to say that I am an artist or to think that I am an artist, and to feel like I don't belong amongst artists. Literally driving home from that place or other places where I experienced that anxiety and like crying because I was so frustrated, and felt like I was so like not up to where I should be. Like,
wow.
Who says where you should be? So definitely experienced that.
Yeah, I think part of the identity of being an artist in general is to like almost fake it till you make it. Like I've just released like a poetry anthology, for example. It's like my first ever sort of work I've put into the world, and there is a huge element of me like not pretending is the wrong word, but just like putting it on a little bit, or like exaggerating like my artistic side and like, you know, how peaceful I am as a person to like make the product look attractive. And I think, yeah, when you look at the art world, if you look at artists, everyone is trying to do that in some capacity. And so as a newbie or as someone who's like not in on the scene, regardless of whether you have an education or not, it's like there's always going to be some of that. So yeah, that's really interesting to hear you reflect on. I guess kind of back on that idea of, you know, the really on the nose art, with the insecurities painted all over her body, or, you know, whatever it might be. I feel like in my experience as a non-professional artist, like a non-trained artist, I've seen a lot of artists, like, again, like myself, non-trained artists, break into like the aesthetic art space. So like they make really cute paintings for walls. And I've obviously seen like the kind of cult following that some of these really on the nose sort of artists have. Not to say that one is right or one is wrong, obviously try to keep an open mind, but in your experience, like, have you seen people that don't have that foundational art education break into the serious art world?
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know if I could name like personal like friends that I know who've done that, but just looking at art history, like, of course, art education hasn't always looked how it looks today. Art university, I think, is a pretty fairly new thing. So when I think of like the New York art movement, like I think it's called The Village or The Villages in New York. A lot of artists were just like living there, kind of camping out in each other's houses, making art all the time. It's a very romantic view of artists. Very idealized. I'm sure it wasn't all that like at the time. To your question, like, is it possible, I guess, for like artists to break into that world without going to university? Absolutely. Art is about speaking to your time, like speaking to the things that are happening in your time. And if you pay attention to the other artists who are talking about those things as well, you can contribute to that overall conversation. That's really what the academic art world is. To quote unquote break into that, you just need to pay attention to that conversation and then respond to it. I also want to say, I talked about how the academic art world or the high art world, whatever you want to call it, is really just a big conversation happening. Your art is a part of that conversation too. People who maybe don't know about all the intricacies of that world or what's being talked about, you're a part of it. Just like, again, because art goes up with or links up with like psychology and ideologies in so many ways, art is a reflection of the current worldview or the zeitgeist. I don't know if people watching have heard that word, but I like that word. It was explained to me like a few years ago, and it means like time spirit or something like that. So the spirit of the times.
Wow,
I like it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good word. So anyways, so art is influenced by this zeitgeist, by this worldview, and you can choose to listen to what that worldview is, or you can just choose to ignore it and still make work, but you're going to be influenced by that in one way or another. I guess maybe the difference between an artist who went to get an education to learn about that in art versus the artist who either wasn't able to do that or didn't choose to do that, it's just being aware of that happening and aware of where your work fits into it.
So this has been such a fascinating conversation, Darcie. Thank you for your thoughts so far. It's like, to wrap up, I just want to hear, like, from the wise woman herself, can you become a successful artist without going to art school? What are your closing thoughts? What are some of those, like, practical takeaways for anyone who might be questioning?
Well, without a doubt, yes, you can. You do not have to go to art school to become a successful artist. You do not have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go get this education in order to be an artist. I live in a very artsy city, and so I see a lot of different types of artists and different art scenes. And sure, there's like maybe the people who have had that art education in university. Then there's also like mural artists who make these amazing, huge pieces on walls. There's people who sell at markets. I'm actually one of those people. I sell at markets, and they, make prints of their work and sell originals and make keychains and stickers and shirts, and they sell at markets and they sell online. There's this gallery in Chattanooga that has like super expensive artwork for rich collectors. And there's a gallery on the opposite end that's more for maybe artists who are kind of emerging into the art world. There's the DIY scene, people who have shows in warehouses. There's people there's one of my friends had a show in her backyard. She just put paintings on trees and tied yarn around things, and it was really fun. And so I say all of this to show just a small look into the many, many ways you can be an artist, to emphasize that it can be what you want it to be. Success doesn't have to be one thing. I think that's what we get caught up on a lot of the time. We see success as this one specific type of person or one specific ideal, but it's not at all. There's so many ways to express yourself and to be who you want to be. So don't get hung up on the art education or whatever it may be for you. Don't get hung up on the college education. That's one path to get there.
Yeah, wow. Building on from that a little bit as well, what you're saying, it requires, like, whether you want to do an art show in your backyard or whether you want to be, in those really high-end galleries or whatever, like sell at markets, whatever it is. As the artist, like, you are in control, and you need to give yourself permission. You need to crown yourself as the artist. I think far too many of us, myself included, are just waiting for someone to give them permission to show up and speak out and be themselves. And it's like, well, actually, that's almost like the trick of the art world, like the secret. Like, no one's going to do that for you. You have to do it for yourself first, and then the people will come. So yeah,
I love that.
It's really
crown yourself as the artist. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen to that.
Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Darcie, this has been such an amazing conversation. I really, really appreciate all that you have shared.
You're welcome. I'm so glad we got to collaborate.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. We so appreciate the time that you've taken to watch this. We hope you got something valuable out of it. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. Like this video if you found it helpful. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos. Check out Darcie and myself on our other videos on this channel or on our personal accounts. You can find those below. Really appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye!